So in this video, I'm going to show you how to zero a couple of brand new cutters for plastics engraving. These are standard engraving cutters here. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to lay down a flat piece of metal. That's my preference, rather than zeroing onto the plastic. And the reason for that is the plastic is soft. So when you drop a cutter into the spindle and if you touch the plastic, it could actually give you a little depth into the plastic just by touching it and give you sort of a false depth. So if I have metal and I'm touching the metal, it's not going to give me that false depth. So this is a 2550 router, and the method of zeroing cutters is the same no matter what the system is, as long as you have a floating spindle like you see here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to jog the spindle out to that metal plate. I have a different controller than yours, probably, but it's all the same. I'm going to move the x-axis over, the y-axis over. Okay. I'm going to put the metal piece beneath the spindle. Now, on my micrometer here, as you know, there are graduations on the micrometer. I have it set on 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There's 0. Okay. So we want to have this on 0. The numbers are hard to see almost always. And you'll notice above the micrometer I have a little bit of thread showing. I want to have a certain amount of thread showing there, so when it comes time to adjust depth, when I want to increase depth, I'm going to be going upwards like this. And I want to have some room to play with. If I didn't have any thread showing here, I couldn't raise the micrometer enough to cut to anything like, say, a 16th inch. Okay, so I have the micrometer on 0, and it doesn't matter what 0. I could rotate it around again like this and put it to the next 0 down. It doesn't matter. Okay, so now I'm going to drop the spindle to touch the metal plate here. So I'll go back to my controller. And you can see I'm touching because the spindle started to float. Okay, so I know that the black nose is touching this plate. That's number 1. Okay, now I'm going to set my phone here. I'm going to take a cutter. First thing I'm going to do here on a new cutter is take this knob and drop it down a little bit farther down the shaft, because I don't want the cutter coming out of the bottom of the spindle here. So I'm going to drop it in the spindle, and this is a left-hand thread. You got to turn it to the left to tighten it. I'm going to take my cutter wrench. You go up to the set screw here, loosen the set screw, bring the cutter down, and I can feel it touch the metal plate down here. I lock it, never over tighten. Doesn't do you any good to over tighten that set screw. Turn it to the right to take this cutter out. Put the next cutter in. Of course, loosen the set screw, drop it in the spindle, tighten it down good, loosen set screw, drop the plate, I feel it touch, tighten, I'm done. Now I'm going to raise the spindle. Now my cutter is officially zeroed. So if I take and adjust this micrometer here, and I turn it clockwise this direction, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I just dialed it 10 clicks. Therefore, I'm exposing 10 thousandths of cutter at the bottom of this nose. So wherever this black nose touches plastic or anywhere else, I'm going to get 10 thousandths. That's all I could possibly get. So in other words, I'm controlling the depth mechanically here. And that's critical for plastic engraving. The plastic is never gonna, you can't expect the plastic to be level across the table. That's why the floating head is critical. Because if the plastic were even an 1/8 inch higher on one end than the other, you're still gonna get 10 thousandths. If I want to cut through this 16th inch material, 10 thousandths that I just dialed in is good for engraving text into standard laminate plastic like this red on white plastic here. If I want to cut through this material, I'm going to show that in another lesson here, but I would have to put in the proper cutter to cut out the plastic. And this being 16th inch, if you do the math on 1/16, that's 0.063 roughly. So if I dial this micrometer, keep going upwards, all the way around back to 0 again, that's 25 thousandths I just put. I put another full rotation, back to 0 again, 50 thousandths of cutter showing out the bottom of this spindle. If I dial another 5 clicks, or 6 or 7, there's 7 clicks, that's 57 thousandths. So I'll leave it at 57 thousandths if I want to cut through this material, because I know that I'm not going to cut all the way through. I don't want to put it at 63 thousandths because the chances of cutting through the material are pretty good. So I hope this helps.